Hidden deep within the lowland rainforests of southeastern Papua, in one of the most isolated corners of Indonesia, live the Korowai, a small Papuan people who have long treated the forest not as an obstacle, but as their greatest ally. Their homeland lies in a region where trees tower 40 meters high, around 130 feet, and the ground is tangled in vines and swamps. The air is thick with humidity, and the soil, nourished by countless fallen leaves, smells of perpetual growth and decay. Until the late 1970s, no outsider knew these people existed. Then, faint wisps of smoke spotted from the air revealed that a secret world of treetop dwellers had survived untouched by modern civilization. Their population, scattered across an immense expanse of jungle, is estimated at around 3,000 to 4,000, divided into clans of roughly 10 to 20 people, many still unregistered because of their remoteness. To the Korowai, the forest is both skin and spirit, a second body that shelters, feeds, and defines them. They move across it with a grace learned since childhood, stepping along fallen trunks that crisscross the swamp like bridges. Their name, Korowai, translates as those with strong legs, a fitting description for people whose daily life is a dance over branches and roots. Children learn early how to grip bark with their toes, and adults can climb the tall, notched poles leading to their homes using nothing but their feet. Strength here is not brute force, but balance, endurance, and familiarity with every texture of the forest floor. Life unfolds in clearings where clans build their aerial homes. Each cluster of houses belongs to an extended family: a man, his wife, their children, and often siblings, cousins, or an aging parent. A visitor arriving at such a settlement sees a constellation of structures, some perched high in the trees, others lower to the ground. The high dwellings belong to the men, while women and small children usually sleep below, where it is safer. Every few years, as the timber decays and the bark floors rot, the family moves to another tree and begins anew. This rhythm of rebuilding is not seen as a burden, but as part of the forest's breathing cycle, a way to let nature reclaim what was borrowed. A Korowai treehouse rises instinctively from the landscape. Builders select the tree first, choosing it for solidity and spirit rather than convenience. The tree must stand on their own land, whose boundaries are memorized through rivers, hills, and ancestral markers. A man may say his territory extends from one brook to another near a mountain, and these limits are respected by neighboring clans. When a tree is chosen, the family treats it with respect, speaking to it as if to an elder. The leaves used for roofing are cut from the sago palm known as sayo. The lashings come from a tough climbing vine called mangok, and the timbers are from the hardwood bua, dense and resilient. Building begins high in the canopy. Men prune the branches, lay a woven floor of bark, and fix the structure around a single living trunk that becomes the house's backbone. They know from experience that a house must rest on at least 3 sturdy poles to balance its weight. Within 5 days, if the work proceeds smoothly and songs are sung for strength, a new home stands complete among the crowns of the forest. The act of building is communal, but also musical. As men climb and lash the beams, they sing rhythmic chants that give them courage and keep their timing steady. Singing, they say, gives strength. Without it, the work would fail. Laughter accompanies the effort, a sign that labor and joy are not separate things here. When the house sways slightly in the wind, its movement is not feared. The Korowai know that a structure that bends will not break, just as a tree lives because it yields. Most houses rise 10 to 15 meters above ground, though some ceremonial ones can soar higher. The reasons are both practical and spiritual. High elevation provides airflow, protection from dampness, and safety from snakes and pigs. It also allows visibility. From the platform, one can see approaching enemies or evil spirits, and if danger threatens, cut the ladder to isolate the home. The Korowai say the air above the trees is cleaner, not only because it is free of insects, but because it is free of malice. They believe certain spirits move along the forest floor, so living aloft keeps the family safe from their touch. Inside the treehouse, space is organized according to the quiet laws of harmony. 2 fires burn constantly, one in the men's section and another in the women's, for it is said that when men and women share a single fire, arguments arise. Between the 2 hearths lies a neutral area where family members can sit together to eat or rest. The central pillar, the living trunk of the tree, passes through the middle of the floor and ties the whole structure together. Families sit close to the fires at night, warming themselves while smoke drifts upward through the thatch. A new house can hold 20 or more people at once, its flexible floor creaking gently under the weight of family gatherings and festive feasts. The Korowai craft everything they use from the forest's bounty. They hunt wild pigs, cassowaries and small marsupials with bows and arrows made of palm wood and tipped with sharpened bamboo. Fish are speared with precision in the streams, sometimes after sprinkling plant-based poisons that stun the catch. Women prepare sago starch, the heart of their diet, by pounding the pith of fallen palms, washing it in water, and cooking the paste into thick cakes. The sago tree is their lifeline. Its bark becomes flooring and wall panels, its leaves the roof, and its inner core the family's meal. Nothing is wasted. Elders teach that without sago trees there would be no light or rain, an expression of dependence so profound that ecology becomes cosmology. Men fell the trees, but once a palm is down, the work passes to the women. They scrape, pound, and rinse the fibers until the starchy sediment settles in wooden troughs. Children watch and learn, their small hands helping to scoop the pulp. A single sago palm can sustain 2 or 3 families for nearly a week, and harvesting it is often a communal event marked by shared laughter and gentle teasing. When food is plentiful, families may organize a sago grub feast, a celebration in which the larvae of beetles found within the decaying trunk are roasted and eaten with sago cakes. These white grubs, rich and fat, symbolize fertility and abundance, linking human life to the forest's continuous renewal. The Korowai seasons are read through signs rather than months. When turtles crawl onto sandy riverbanks to lay their eggs, the people know the dry season has arrived and that the red forest fruits will soon ripen. The rhythm of rain, insect song, and ripening fruit dictates the calendar. There is no word for year as an abstract measure of time. Instead, time is felt through cycles of growth and decay, the birth of children, and the building and rotting of houses. To live in such a place is to let the forest's pulse become one's own. Family structure among the Korowai is anchored in cooperation. Extended kin live together in a single dwelling and children are raised collectively. Boys spend their early years close to their mothers, but around the age of 8 or 10, they begin accompanying their fathers into the forest to learn hunting and construction. By adolescence, each child understands their role within the clan without the need for formal instruction. Leadership within a clan is informal. There are no chiefs in the Western sense, but elders who possess wisdom and charisma naturally guide decisions. Disputes are settled through dialogue or compensation, usually with pigs or ornaments of dog teeth and shells. When balance is restored, both sides share a meal to seal reconciliation. More serious conflicts, such as adultery or theft, invoke customary punishments. Symbolic acts of injury, or in extreme cases, sanctioned violence meant to restore moral order. The underlying goal is not domination, but equilibrium, for a disrupted harmony is believed to invite sickness or misfortune from the spirit world. In the Korowai worldview, invisible forces weave through daily life. Every element of nature is alive with spirit. The river has a voice, the trees have memories, and the wind carries the whispers of ancestors. Death is not an end, but a passage. The soul journeys to a parallel world, and after time may return as a newborn child or even as an animal in the forest. This belief sustains respect for all living beings. To kill needlessly is to offend one's own ancestors who may be watching through the eyes of a bird or fish. Elders tell stories of a creator named Jinol who shaped the world from the body of a giant pig and of a sleeping giant beneath the earth whose awakening will bring the world's end. Such myths, passed orally, intertwine cosmic drama with the tangible landscape, giving moral texture to every stone and stream. A particularly feared figure in Korowai lore is the Kakwa, a witch who secretly devours human life from within. When unexplained illness or death strikes, suspicion may fall on a supposed Kakwa, and traditional justice demands that the spirit eater be killed so the balance of the community can be restored. Anthropologists have described rare accounts of ritual cannibalism tied to this belief, though among the Korowai, it is not about hunger, but purification. The act, real or symbolic, reasserts cosmic order. Evil consumed is evil destroyed. In recent decades, with increased contact with outsiders, such practices have largely vanished, replaced by Christian rituals or by simple avoidance of suspected sorcerers. Marriage among the Korowai is a bond between families rather than individuals. A man must offer a bride price, usually in pigs, to the woman's family, sealing an alliance that links the two clans. Polygyny is common for men of wealth, but it carries social responsibility. Each wife and her children must be provided for equally. Girls often marry soon after puberty, guided by parental arrangements and kinship considerations. When a man dies, his brother may marry the widow, a custom ensuring that the woman and her children remain protected and that the alliance between families endures. In this society, where isolation limits external connections, such networks of marriage are vital threads of survival. At dawn, the forest wakes with the Korowai. The day begins not with clocks, but with sound. The throaty call of hornbills, the hum of insects, and the crackle of small fires rekindled from last night's embers. Smoke drifts through gaps in the thatched roof and catches the rising light. Women stir first, feeding the fires, grinding sago, and checking the traps laid near the water. Men soon follow, shouldering bows, arrows or machetes, and heading silently into the trees. Their bodies, lean and scarred by vines, move with the forest rather than through it. Each motion seems guided by a deep familiarity with every scent and rustle. Hunting is never reckless. A man moves with the wind, stopping to listen for pig tracks or the distant drumming of cassowary feet. When game is caught, gratitude is spoken aloud, a soft acknowledgement that the animal's spirit has chosen to sustain the hunters. Meat is roasted on bamboo skewers or wrapped in leaves and cooked over hot stones. Nothing is wasted, not even the bones, which are sharpened into tools or ornaments. While the men hunt, the women shape the household's rhythm. They fetch water in bamboo tubes, gather fruits, and weave baskets from palm fibers. Their fingers move constantly, scraping sago, binding leaves, plaiting ropes. The Korowai have no written language, yet knowledge is woven into these repetitive gestures. The Korowai do not separate knowledge from reverence. To understand a thing is also to thank it. It is this worldview that has allowed them to survive in an environment that outsiders find unforgiving. In daily conversation, the Korowai speak often of balance. If someone becomes ill, it is said that the equilibrium between the visible and invisible worlds has been disturbed. Healing rituals involve chanting, smoke, and the sacrifice of a pig, whose blood is offered to appease offended spirits. Women with knowledge of herbs act as healers, brewing infusions from roots and leaves. They may whisper the patient's name into the drink before it is consumed, so that the spirit of the plant recognizes whom it must help. When the illness passes, gratitude is expressed by sharing food with neighbors, reaffirming the communal bond that sustains health. The people have no need for written records, for their bodies and senses are attuned to the forest's language. To live here is to read the world as text, every sound and colour a word in a story told by the earth. Despite their deep isolation, change has come. Government programs have established villages along riverbanks, offering schools, clinics and electricity to encourage settlement. Younger Korowai are drawn to these places by curiosity and the lure of light at night. They taste rice, coffee and tea for the first time and discover music from radios. Many find the new sensations thrilling and linger longer in the villages, sometimes returning with new clothes or words of Indonesian. Elders notice this with mixed emotions, pride that their children are learning and sadness that the forest grows quieter. The move from forest to village is reshaping family life. In the new settlements, houses are built from sawn timber and tin roofs, set on the ground rather than in the trees. Fires are replaced by stoves and traditional songs fade beneath the hum of generators. Still, the Korowai adapt with remarkable grace. Some families split their time, living part of the year in the village for schooling or trade, then returning to the forest to rebuild houses and harvest sago. They describe this as walking on two paths, one toward the future, one toward the ancestors. Elders often express concern that the young are losing their way. They say that without the forest, people forget who they are. Yet they also recognize the allure of modern comforts. A clan chief may admit, half smiling, that young men who visit the villages discover not only electricity, but new tastes of sugar, of rice, and of romance. There are no girls in the forest, he might joke, explaining why sons linger near the towns. Such humour masks a deeper truth. The tribe stands at a crossroads where survival now depends on learning to balance tradition with inevitable change. Even for those who remain in the forest, the outside world has left traces. Steel machetes have replaced stone axes, plastic containers have joined bamboo tubes, and second-hand t-shirts often mix with traditional leaf skirts. These small changes have not erased their identity. They have simply expanded the vocabulary of survival. The Korowai do not see modern tools as foreign, but as new gifts from the forest of the wider world, materials to be used wisely without surrendering the soul of their culture. For the Korowai, home is not a single structure, but an ever-changing relationship between people, trees and spirits. A house may last a few years before decay claims it, but the sense of belonging never fades because it resides in the landscape itself. When a family leaves an old dwelling, they do not mourn its loss. They thank it for the shelter it gave and let the forest reclaim it. The vines that climb its posts and the roots that split its floor are viewed as part of the natural cycle of renewal. To the Korowai, permanence lies not in wood or rope, but in continuity. The repeated act of building, moving, and rebuilding that mirrors the rhythm of life and death. A Korowai elder once described the forest as a home without walls. He meant that the real boundaries of existence are not drawn in wood or stone, but in the shared respect between human and environment. When rain falls, people pause their work, letting the forest speak. When the sun returns, they resume. This quiet acceptance of natural rhythm contrasts sharply with the modern notion of control over nature. Among the Korowai, survival comes from listening rather than conquering. They adapt to the forest's moods, finding shelter when the rivers rise and food when the earth yields it, never forcing the land to give more than it wishes. Death among the Korowai is met with solemn practicality. The body is wrapped in bark and buried near the house, allowing the soul to remain close for a time before journeying onward. Some families leave the grave unmarked so that nature may quickly reclaim it, believing that the faster the body returns to the earth, the sooner the spirit can be reborn. Mourning is communal, with relatives gathering to share food and stories of the deceased. The event is not entirely sad. It reaffirms continuity. The forest, after all, receives what it once gave. Social life within the clans continues to revolve around reciprocity and equality. No one accumulates excessive possessions, for storing wealth in a place where decay is constant would be futile. Value is measured instead in relationships, the number of people who will come to help when a house is built or when someone falls ill. Generosity is the true currency. A man known for sharing meat or sago earns greater respect than one who hoards. The same principle governs marriage and alliance. The exchange of pigs or ornaments is not merely economic, but symbolic of trust, a promise that one family will stand beside another in times of need. Although government programs and missionaries have brought new ideas, the Korowai have adopted them selectively. Some attend church in the river villages, singing hymns in their own melodic style, but they interpret Christianity through their existing worldview. To them, God is another name for the spirit of the sky, and Jesus is a great ancestor who returned from death. The biblical stories resonate with their own oral traditions, creating a form of belief that blends old and new rather than replacing one with the other. A young man might wear a cross around his neck while still whispering to the forest before cutting a tree. Both acts express reverence in different tongues. Modern contact has also introduced new challenges. With easier access to towns, some Korowai have begun trading forest products or guiding tourists who seek to witness the fabled treehouse people. While this offers income, it also risks turning culture into performance. Aware of visitors' expectations, clans sometimes build unusually tall treehouses, 30 meters or more, for demonstration, though their everyday homes remain lower and more practical. Elders remind the young not to let these displays distort their traditions. The true meaning of their architecture, they say, is not in height, but in harmony. A house must breathe with the wind and grow from the tree as naturally as a leaf. Still, not all change is unwelcome. Access to medicine has reduced deaths from infection and snakebite, and literacy has begun to spread through bilingual schooling. A few Korowai have travelled to towns like Wamena or even Jayapura, returning with stories of airplanes, markets, and vast crowds. For them, the world has expanded, yet the forest remains their point of reference. They describe cities as other forests made of stone, filled with strange trees that do not move. These metaphors reveal a continuity of thought. Wherever they go, they frame experience through the language of nature. Elders fear, however, that with each generation, fewer children will know the old songs or the secret paths through the jungle. They worry that when the last of them dies, the spirits guarding certain rivers or trees may vanish from memory. Some government villages have already witnessed conflicts between families unused to living so close together. In the forest, space provides peace. In the village, proximity breeds tension. When disputes arise, many families simply return to their ancestral lands, preferring the solitude of the trees to the noise of diesel engines and radios. The forest remains the final refuge for those who seek silence and meaning. Their population today is believed to hover around 3,000, though exact numbers are uncertain because many still live beyond the reach of census takers. The government has built airstrips and river outposts, yet vast tracts of their territory remain trackless. Here, the jungle canopy hides a mosaic of clans who continue to live as their ancestors did, gathering sago, hunting with bows, and raising houses into the sky. Each clan operates as a small world unto itself, self-sufficient, guided by the pulse of the forest and the wisdom of experience. Visitors who have spent time among the Korowai often remark on the paradox of their existence: extreme isolation paired with profound connection. Cut off from modern infrastructure, they live in harmony with a landscape that outsiders struggle to endure for even a few days. The same forest that appears hostile to travellers is, for them, a generous companion. They read in every rustle of leaves a sign, in every bird call a message. Today, the Korowai stand as one of the last peoples whose architecture still grows from living trees. But the Korowai are not the only tribe in the Papua region of Indonesia. There are also the Dani, Asmat, Yali and Lani, each inhabiting different parts of this vast and rugged land. Papua has an estimated population of around 4.3 million people, making it one of Indonesia's least densely populated provinces despite its vast territory. The population is incredibly diverse, comprising over 250 distinct ethnic groups and more than 300 spoken languages, reflecting the island's deep cultural and geographical isolation. Most Papuans belong to Melanesian and Austronesian ancestry, with communities spread between the coastal areas, highland valleys, and remote jungles. The largest urban centres are Jayapura, the provincial capital, followed by Timika, Wamena, and Merauke, though more than 70% of the population still lives in rural villages. Christianity is the dominant religion, practiced by about 83% of the population, while Islam and indigenous beliefs are also present, blending traditional rituals with modern faith. Christianity became the dominant religion in Papua, largely due to the influence of European and American missionaries who arrived during the 19th and early 20th centuries. Politically, Papua occupies a sensitive place within Indonesia. The territory was formerly known as Dutch New Guinea and became part of Indonesia in 1963 after a controversial process known as the Act of Free Choice in 1969. Since then, there have been ongoing movements seeking greater autonomy or independence, driven by historical grievances, ethnic differences, and struggles over local governance. Despite these tensions, Papua remains an integral part of Indonesia, with development programs, new infrastructure and regional reforms aimed at improving education, healthcare and connectivity in this remote province. The reason Papua is split in two, the Indonesian Papua to the east and Papua New Guinea, an independent nation, comes down to colonial history and the way European powers divided New Guinea in the 19th century. The island of New Guinea is the second largest island in the world, and it was originally inhabited entirely by indigenous Melanesian peoples who shared cultural and linguistic similarities. However, during the European colonial expansion of the 1800s, foreign powers carved it up for strategic and economic reasons. Yet, beyond the human story lies a land so extraordinary that it seems almost untouched by time. Papua, occupying the western half of the island of New Guinea, is the largest and least explored province in Indonesia. Stretching over 420,000 square kilometres, it encompasses an astonishing range of landscapes, from glacial peaks and volcanic ranges to vast swamps, mangroves, and coral-fringed coastlines. This incredible geographic diversity gives rise to one of the richest concentrations of life on the planet, making Papua a living museum of evolution and a critical refuge for biodiversity. Scientists estimate that it harbours over 20,000 species of plants, many of them endemic, along with over 600 species of birds, over 200 species of mammals, and over 2,000 known species of insects. These numbers continue to grow as new discoveries are made almost every year, particularly in the isolated interior regions where few humans have ever set foot. The forests that cover nearly 75% of Papua's surface form one of the largest and most intact tropical rainforests on Earth, second only to the Amazon and the Congo Basin. Towering trees, some exceeding 60 metres in height, create an emerald canopy so thick that sunlight struggles to reach the forest floor. Beneath this living roof thrives an ecosystem of breathtaking complexity. Orchids clinging to moss-covered branches, tree kangaroos leaping silently between trunks, and cassowaries striding through the undergrowth like prehistoric sentinels. These forests are not just rich in life, they are vital to the planet's health, absorbing an estimated 1.5 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide each year, playing a crucial role in stabilising the global climate. Papua's marine realm is equally astonishing. Off the northern and western coasts lies part of the Coral Triangle, the most biologically diverse marine region on Earth. This underwater paradise contains 76% of all known coral species, 2,000 species of reef fish, and countless forms of crustaceans, mollusks, and marine plants. The waters of Raja Ampat, an archipelago of over 1,500 small islands, are particularly famous for their beauty and diversity. Scientists have recorded 10 times more coral species here than in the entire Caribbean Sea, and divers often describe it as swimming in a living kaleidoscope. To stand in Papua is to witness the Earth in its most primal form. It is a land of thunderous rain, towering trees, and rivers that seem to breathe with the forest. Here, clouds cling to mountain ridges like ghosts of ancient spirits, and the sound of distant waterfalls echoes through the valleys like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Beneath the canopy, every leaf, every insect, every drop of water is part of an intricate balance that has endured for millions of years. Even in an age of satellites and global maps, Papua remains a mystery. A place where vast tracts of land are still uncharted and where nature, in all its beauty and brutality, continues to reign supreme. It is one of Earth's last sanctuaries, a living reminder of how rich and wild our planet once was, and perhaps how it still can be if we choose to protect it.